Hi, I'm Emily. Born to Ava, a once glamorous model, and Jake, a guy who knew his way around a camera, I was supposed to be their golden ticket to keep the lavish lifestyle they were scared of losing. Look at her, Jake. She's perfect. That face could relaunch my brand, Mom said, hovering over my crib with that calculating gleam in her eyes. I was too young to remember, of course, but she'd repeat that story like a broken record as if proud of her foresight. Dad, a man of few words, snapped photos, turning our home into a studio. Just one more, Ava. She's tired, he'd often mutter during those endless sessions. Nonsense. She's a natural, aren't you, baby? Mom's voice was sugary sweet when she wanted something. It worked on everyone, Dad included. Growing up, I hardly noticed the constant clicks of the camera or Mom's relentless ambition. It was just how things were. My playdates? More like photo ops, with Mom directing every pose. Smile more, Emily. No, not like that. Think princess, not playground. She'd instruct, eyes darting between me and the lens. I tried to please her. Always tried. Maybe because every flash of the camera was paired with her rare, gleaming approval, or maybe because I didn't know anything else. Dinner time was no different. We didn't talk about school or friends. It was always about branding, shoots, and Mom's new ideas to keep her followers hooked. Eating healthy is not just good, it's marketable, Emily. Remember, you are what you eat, and right now, you're my little star, Mom explained one evening, her words slow and deliberate as if trying to sell the concept to a potential sponsor hidden in the bushes. Dad, on the other hand, seemed to shrink with each passing day, his voice seldom rising above a whisper. It's all good, Ava. Maybe we let her have some pizza tonight, eh? A cheat day, he'd suggest on rare occasions, a weak smile fleeting across his face. Her response was always sharp. And ruin her complexion? You know better than to mess with the routine, Jake. Routine, my constant companion. I knew nothing of lazy Sundays or messy ice cream faces. Everything was curated, my childhood laid out like a magazine spread. One night, I heard them arguing. Their voices, usually hushed around me, echoed through the halls. She's not just your ticket to fame, Ava. She's our daughter, not some prop, Dad's voice was tinged with frustration. Oh, grow up, Jake. We're not in some fairy tale. This is real life, and in real life, we capitalize on what we have. Emily is what we have. Mom shot back, her words slicing through any pretense of maternal warmth. I lay in bed, clutching my bear, Mr. Snuggles, trying to make sense of it all. The idea that I was more useful than loved wasn't new, but hearing it spelled out cracked something inside me. The next morning, things went back to normal. Mom was all smiles, pretending last night never happened. Dad avoided my eyes, his usual. Ready for your shoot, sweetheart? Mom chirped as she straightened my dress. Her hands felt cold, her smile too stretched. And so, we continued, the camera capturing smiles that never quite reached my eyes, in a house that felt more like a set every day. I played my part, the golden child, not yet understanding the shadows that played behind the scenes of our picture-perfect life. Grandma and Grandpa, they saw through it all. They'd visit, shaking their heads, whispering about how kids needed dirt and sun, not spotlights and scripts. Can't she just be a kid, Ava? Grandpa would grumble as soon as he stepped through the door, his brows furrowed in disapproval. Mom would force a smile, her patience thin. Dad, times have changed. Emily's opportunities are golden. We're setting her up for life. I'd watch from the corner, clutching a doll I wasn't allowed to dirty. Their visits were my only break from the constant clicks of Dad's camera. He'd put it down then, his face softening. Let's all just relax for the evening. How about a movie, everyone? Dad would suggest, his voice almost a plea. Mom's eyes would narrow, her lips pursed. Sure, after Emily finishes her shoot with the new organic juice line. It's just a few photos, then we can all relax, as you put it. The shoots weren't quick. They never were. Dad tried to keep things light, goofy faces behind the camera, to make me giggle on cue. Come on, pumpkin, show me the biggest smile. Think about, oh, ice cream. He'd cheer, hoping to catch a genuine moment. Mom didn't do patience. Jake, focus. We need these perfect. The company is watching closely. They want the natural, happy child, not some sugared-up toddler. The arguments got more heated when the camera was off. Grandma and Grandpa would try to steal me away for a weekend, desperate to give me a taste of normal. Ava, she should come stay with us. Just a few days. Let her run around, play in the mud. Grandpa would argue as he put on his coat, ready to leave, but not ready to give up. And what? Miss a casting call? No, Dad. We're not risking opportunities. She's fine. Mom would snap, her words final. It wasn't all bad. Sometimes, in the quiet mornings before Mom woke up, Dad would make pancakes, drizzling extra syrup and letting me toss in handfuls of chocolate chips. Don't tell your mom. He'd wink, the secret sweet between us. Promise. I'd giggle, the syrup sticky on my fingers, the moment light and free. But freedom was always fleeting. As soon as Mom's footsteps echoed down the hall, it was back to business. Hair brushed, face washed, and dressed in whatever outfit she'd laid out. In those days, I didn't understand the weight of sacrifice or the price of the path laid out before me. I only knew the routine, the constant push, and the clear understanding that my childhood wasn't really my own. It belonged to the brand, the image, the unspoken sacrifice of what could have been. When the sickness hit, it came without warning. One day, I was posing for a yogurt ad, all grins and giggles. The next, I was burning up, my body a battleground. Mom panicked, but not in the way you'd hope. Her first thought wasn't about getting me to a doctor, it was about how many shoots we'd have to cancel. Ava, we need to get her to the hospital, now. Dad was pacing, his voice edged with a panic I'd rarely heard from him. Just a minute, Jake. Let me think. Mom snapped back, her phone in one hand, probably scrolling through her calendar. Think? She's burning up, Ava. This isn't about your bloody schedule. Dad's shout would have scared me if I weren't so out of it. In the hospital, they said it was polio. I didn't really understand then what it meant, only that it was bad, really bad. Mom's face went white when the doctor explained. But she's been so healthy, Mom muttered to herself more than anyone else, her face twisted in confusion and anger. Mrs. Dawson, Emily wasn't vaccinated against polio. It's extremely rare nowadays because most children are vaccinated, the doctor explained gently, a look of sympathy across his face. Dad looked like he'd been punched. Not vaccinated? Ava, what, why? Mom's lips thinned, her usual defense rising quick. Don't you start on me, Jake. It was a choice we made. I was moved to a room, wires and tubes hooking me to machines that beeped and blinked. Days turned into weeks. I missed the sun, my sketches, even the annoying flash of Dad's camera. Mom rarely stayed long. She'd come in, sit for a bit, her foot tapping relentless on the sterile tiles. Emily, you need to fight this. You know how much is riding on you getting better, she'd say, her voice tight, like she was negotiating a deal instead of comforting her daughter. More than anything, I wanted all of this to be just a bad dream, to wake up in my bed with Mr. Snuggles tight in my arms, ready for another day of pretend. But the nightmare was real, and it wasn't just the sickness. It was seeing the strain on Dad's face, hearing the impatience in Mom's voice, feeling the distance grow between who I was and who I was supposed to be. Can't you just sit with her? Dad's voice would rise sometimes when he thought I was sleeping. She's scared, Ava. She needs us. She needs to get better. Sitting and coddling isn't going to fix her, Jake. Mom's reply, always sharp, like a slap. Days blurred together, each one a repeat of the last, beeps, whispers, and the heavy weight of knowing that to Mom, I was a project failing to meet its deadline. 2 years of my life blurred into a continuous loop of bed sheets, window views, and the ceaseless ticking of the clock. Bedridden, I became a fixture in my own home, an inconvenient piece of furniture rather than a daughter. Mom's irritation grew with each passing day, her frustration palpable every time she had to tend to me. Changing my diapers or washing me, she did it all with a grimace. "This is not what I signed up for," she'd mutter under her breath, her hands rough, her care lacking warmth. Dad tried to compensate. Every evening, he'd come into my room with a fairy tale book in hand, his voice a soft echo of better times. "Let's escape to a kingdom far away, Emily," he'd whisper, trying to lift my spirits as we dived into stories of brave heroes and far-off lands. But the daylight hours were long and lonely. Left to myself, I found solace in drawing. My sketches became my silent rebellion, my hidden diary. Crayons and pencils were my companions, crafting scenes far different from the sterile room I was confined to. I heard Mom's complaints, her selfish frustrations. She was tired of wearing the same outfits to parties because the money had dried up. "I'm stuck in last season's wardrobe while you lie around," she'd yell, her voice echoing off the walls, filled with a bitterness that cut deeper than the loneliness. Grandma and Grandpa saw the toll it was taking on me. They'd visit, laden with worry, their faces etched with concern. "Let her come stay with us for a while," Grandpa would suggest, his voice a gentle plea. "She needs a change of scenery, needs to feel loved." But Mom would have none of it. Absolutely not. What would people think if they knew I'd shipped her off to her grandparents? My image as a mother is at stake. Her voice was shrill, tinged with desperation. Her tantrums became more frequent, a testament to the crumbling facade of her once glamorous life. Dad's response was to retreat further into his shell, the bottle his only solace. Nights were filled with the sounds of Mom's crying fits and the clinking of Dad's glass. When I turned 8, a flicker of hope emerged as I began to slowly pull myself upright, leaning heavily on the bedpost. But one leg didn't cooperate, it was thinner, shorter, a lasting reminder of the illness that had ravaged my body. Mom dragged me to countless doctors, her face etched with a mix of hope and fear. "Is there nothing you can do?" she would demand, her tone sharp as she addressed the specialists. "I'm sorry, but these are post-polio complications. There's not much we can do to reverse this," the doctors would explain, their faces somber. The realization that I would never again be the perfect model child hit her like a storm. Rage replaced her initial shock. At home, she turned that rage on me. "Look what you've done to yourself," she'd scream. "If you hadn't been so careless, none of this would have happened. You've ruined everything." Her words stung, and I'd retreat further into my sketches, my only escape from her relentless blame. My drawings became darker, a mirror to the turmoil inside me. Yet, they also held a strange beauty, a testament to my endurance and my spirit, which refused to be crushed. Nights in my room were long and silent, filled only with the scratching of my pencils against paper as I lost myself in drawing worlds far kinder than my own. My comics became my sanctuary, a place where I was the hero, not the victim. "Why do you even bother with that stuff?" Mom's harsh voice would slice through the quiet as she barged into my room. "It's not like it's going to get us back on track. You should be focusing on something useful." I learned to just nod, not trusting my voice. My drawings hid under my bed, my fears and dreams bleeding onto the pages in secret. I had no friends to call, no schoolmates to lean on, my world was confined to these 4 walls. And the only connection I had to the outside was through my online classes and occasional, whispered phone calls with my grandparents who seemed to be the only ones who cared. One night, something changed. It was late, and the house was quiet, too quiet. That's when I heard it, muffled screams from downstairs. Heart pounding, I limped to my door, easing it open just enough to peek through. "I can't do this anymore, Jake. Look at her, look at what she's become." Mom's voice was frantic, laced with disgust. "I can't stand to look at her anymore." Dad's response was slurred, tired. "She's still our daughter, Ava. We can't just throw her away." "That's exactly what we're going to do," she snapped back. "Here, give her this and make it look like she ran away. Maybe some robber will do us a favor tonight and get rid of the geek." Dad's steps were heavy, his presence larger as he approached my room. The door creaked open, and there he stood, a silhouette of the man he once was, his eyes sad, his breath heavy with alcohol. "We're going for a drive, Em," he muttered, avoiding my eyes. I could only nod, my whole body trembling as I followed him out to the car. We ended up in a part of town that even nightmares would hesitate to visit. Dad stopped the car, and his next words were barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I don't know what else to do." He handed me the phone, his hands shaking. "Keep this with you. Please forgive me." Then he left, just like that. I stood there, alone, the cold biting through my thin pajamas. My hands clutched the phone like a lifeline as sounds of distant fights filled the air. But they made one mistake, they left the SIM card in the phone. Shaking, I dialed Grandpa's number. "Grandpa, please, you have to help me. I'm scared. I don't know where I am." "Hold on, Emily. We're coming. Just stay hidden and keep the phone on." Grandpa's voice was firm, a promise in the dark. I hid behind a trash can, my body shaking from fear and cold, waiting for what felt like an eternity. Every noise made my heart jump, every shadow a monster in the dim street light. Finally, headlights swept around the corner, and Grandpa's car came into view. They had never driven so fast, and never had I felt so relieved to see them. Grandpa and Grandma rushed out, their arms wide open. After they rescued me, Grandpa and Grandma drove straight to Mom and Dad's house. They were furious, their anger crackling through the air like electricity. I stayed in the car, but I could hear the raised voices even from the driveway. "You've gone too far this time, Ava." Grandpa's voice boomed. "Please don't tell anyone," Mom pleaded, her voice cracking with fear. "Think about what they'll do to us." Grandma was relentless. "You're not fit to be her mother. You're signing over custody, Ava. Today." And just like that, they secured my freedom. Mom signed the papers, her tears of fear a far cry from repentance. Dad was silent, his head bowed, the fight gone out of him. Life at Grandma and Grandpa's was peaceful. They had a small, cozy house with a big backyard and a garden that seemed enchanted, bursting with colors and life. Grandpa taught me how to plant flowers, his rough hands gentle on the earth. "Plants gotta be nurtured, Em. Just like people," he'd say, a smile tucked into his beard. Grandma was a whirlwind of love and baked goods. She always had a new recipe to try, and the kitchen was our laboratory. "Sugar fixes a lot of things, especially moods," she'd wink, passing me a spoonful of cookie dough. I started going to a regular school not long after moving in. I was nervous, limping distinctly, self-conscious about my leg. But to my surprise, the kids were kind. They didn't stare or whisper like I'd feared. Instead, they were curious, accepting. "Wanna play with us?" a girl named Lucy asked during recess one day. "Sure," I replied, a grin breaking over my face, surprised by the simplicity of the moment, how easy it felt to just be a kid among others. Art class became my refuge, where I truly flourished. Mr. Hernandez, the art teacher, noticed my talent right away. "You've got a real gift, Emily. Ever thought about showing your work to the world?" he encouraged. Taking his advice, I started posting my drawings online. It was just a few sketches at first, but soon, I had followers, a community of people who didn't just see the drawings, they saw me. They understood the stories I was telling through my art. Evenings at home were my favorite time. After dinner, we'd sit on the porch, Grandpa with his pipe and Grandma with her knitting, the day winding down around us like a soft blanket. "Life's good, isn't it?" Grandpa would ask, looking out at the garden bathed in twilight. "It's wonderful," I'd answer, leaning against Grandma, feeling safe and loved in a way I hadn't known was possible. At 19, life threw me into a new chapter, art school, with a scholarship that recognized my talents. The girl who once sketched in secret was now a known name in the online art community. Even my characters jumped off the pages, finding their way onto comic book covers and city walls as graffiti. Enrolling in art school was a dream realized. It was my chance to dive deeper, to explore the roots of artistic expression through classical training. "You're going to rock this, Emily," Grandpa said on the day I received my acceptance letter, his eyes gleaming with pride. "Yeah, kid, show 'em how it's done," Grandma added, always quick to throw in her fiery support. The campus was buzzing with creativity, a place pulsing with potential. My first day felt like stepping into a larger world, one I was eager to explore and influence. Studying was intense, but fulfilling. I absorbed techniques and histories that made my work richer, more grounded. My professors encouraged experimentation, leading me to blend traditional methods with my unique style. "You have a rare gift, Emily. Your perspective is refreshing," Professor Ames noted during a critique, his words bolstering my confidence. Parallel to my studies, I organized an exhibition of my paintings. It wasn't just an exhibition, it was a narrative display, telling stories of overcoming and becoming. "Each piece tells a story, doesn't it?" a visitor remarked during the opening night, her eyes tracing the lines of my largest canvas. "Absolutely. Each stroke has a part of my journey," I explained, finding joy in sharing my vision. The local media caught wind of my story, intrigued by the artist who conquered personal and physical challenges to create. They filmed reports at the exhibition, interviewing me about my work and life. "Emily Dawson isn't just an artist, she's a phenomenon," one reporter said as the camera light blinked red. I walked through the exhibition, my special shoes, and sometimes a cane aiding my steps. I wasn't hiding my limp, I was owning it. "You turn adversity into art," an art enthusiast commented, pointing at my cane, which I'd painted in bright colors. Photos of me appeared in fashion magazines again, a full-circle moment. But this time, I posed because I wanted to, each photo a testament to my agency and artistry. "She redefines beauty," read the caption under a photo of me, my painted cane in hand, standing boldly beside one of my vibrant murals. By the time I finished my degree, I wasn't just a graduate with honors, I was a symbol of perseverance, a living canvas of my own making. And as I walked across the stage to receive my diploma, cane in hand, the applause wasn't just for my academic achievement but for the journey that brought me there. The art gallery buzzed with chatter and the click of cameras, the air electric with admiration for the work lining the walls. I mingled with guests, my heart swollen with pride and nerves. It was a big day, the culmination of years of hard work and passion. The space was filled with my paintings, each piece a chapter of my life, a battle fought and won. Out of nowhere, the atmosphere shifted. My heart stopped for a second when I saw them, my parents. They have changed a lot. Dad looked worn, more lines on his face, his eyes dimmer. Mom's beauty disappeared, revealing her true self. I watched, frozen, as Mom made her way to the reporters who were filming. With the flair of someone used to the spotlight, she announced loudly, "I'm Emily's mother, and I'm just so overwhelmed with pride for what she's accomplished." The camera swung to her, eating up her performance. She's always been incredibly talented, and seeing all she's achieved, it's a mother's dream come true. I couldn't take it. My body moved on its own, fueled by a mix of anger and disbelief. "No," I interrupted sharply, my voice slicing through the murmurs of the crowd. "I owe everything to my grandparents. They are the reason I am who I am today." Away from the prying eyes and lenses of the media, I pulled my parents aside, my heart hammering against my ribs. Mom's act dropped as soon as we were out of earshot, her eyes cold and calculating. "Emily, darling, we need your help," she began, the sweetness in her voice sickening. "Your father has had some troubles, he's lost his job, and we've had to sell the house. We have nowhere to go. You owe us, Emily." "I owed you nothing the moment you left me on that street," I shot back, my resolve hard as steel. "If you ever come near me or my grandparents, I'll go to the police." "Don't think I won't." They knew I meant every word. Without another word, they turned and left, disappearing back into the shadows from which they had emerged. That night, after the guests had left and the lights in the gallery dimmed, I took a moment to walk through the quiet space. My paintings looked back at me, each one a testament to my journey. I had faced my past, confronted the pain, and came out the other side stronger. Back home, in the quiet comfort of Grandma and Grandpa's house, I finally felt at peace. Here, in this house filled with love and acceptance, I knew I was home, truly home.